Bert has arrived from Mary Poppins, or should I say Matt Lee. You have to start getting used to Bert again soon, won't you, Matt?
I know, I only answer to Bert these days. People just call me Bert, and I'm like, yep, that's my second name. So
How long have you been playing that role in Mary Poppins?
I've been playing Bert for 2 years now, so a long time. But I feel like we've become one.
I saw the show in Perth, second to last show, and since then, and that was back when in June.
In June, yes.
You've had a break from Mary Poppins?
We've had a break. We've been on holiday since then, and obviously I've been off doing other things. But from Mary Poppins, I've had a nice holiday after 2 years, which I think was a little well deserved because 8 shows a week for 2 years is a long slog.
And you're on stage for a lot of the time, aren't you, during the production?
Yeah, I think I leave the stage probably 3 or 4 times for the entire show. Physically, it's very demanding, but it's very rewarding too. The response we've had from the audience has been ridiculously amazing. So, when you're in a musical, that's all you can hope for is that you have such a warm reception. So
It's incredibly challenging. I remember sitting in the audience in Perth, the auditorium there, and seeing you walking up the side of the stage and over the top and back down again. I mean, it is very demanding, isn't it?
yeah, and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
As demanding as it is, we do it because we love it. We wouldn't be there unless we really loved it, and it's our passion. So, sometimes there are days when you go, oh, and there are other times when it's a lot easier. So, yeah, they're more happy days than not.
What was the audition process like for you when you sort of answered the ad to say, right, they're looking for Bert for Mary Poppins? What was it like?
Yeah, well, I'd done a couple of shows for Cameron McIntosh now, and the show was coming to town, and so he sent me the material asking me if I could look over it and come in on audition, and I did the same as everybody else, and I came in and I went through a series of dance kind of auditions first, and then read the material and did some scenes and some singing, and then they flew me to Melbourne to do the final callbacks in the comedy theatre in Melbourne, and they put us on stage, and basically we had to do like a number, and they would sit in the audience, and I did a bunch of auditions with like 4 or 5 Marys, and then it's just really sit back and wait and cross your fingers and hope that you did enough, and luckily for me I did. So.
And it was the one you wanted?
It was totally the one I wanted. The role of Bert, it's an all singing, all dancing, all acting role, and very rarely do they come around for men. There's lots of them out there for the women, but very rarely do they come around for the men. So this is one I had my eye on, and I really wanted to make it mine.
So in the 5 months that you've had off, it just hasn't been one big holiday because you're very, very involved with dance and shows in Australia, aren't you?
Absolutely. I actually, whilst the last season of Mary Poppins was happening in Perth, I was working on The Voice, which I believe has just aired here.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, and so I was working as choreographer on that. And also I teach a lot and obviously do some corporate events and stuff. So it hasn't been all feet up, hands behind my head, feet up. But from Poppins it has. But yeah, I'm very much involved in all that kind of stuff in Australia.
So I mean, you've obviously just had a short life. What have you done apart from dancing in your life? Is that it?
Well, I've
Living
been
the dream.
dancing since I was 5 years old. So
Yeah.
I kind of worked out at a very early age that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and I'm very lucky to have realised that at an early age. So I've been working professionally since I was probably 13.
Wow.
And yeah, just it hasn't stopped, and I've just been lucky enough to be kind of doing what I love to do for a career.
What was your first ever show?
My first ever show was a musical for the Australian Opera called Rags I did when I was 13, and then my first major musical was for David Atkins' Hot Shoe Shuffle after that, which is I toured to Japan and back when I was 14, and then I did an Australian tour of that, and then I did a bunch of other musicals, and then when I was doing my HSC Year 12 I actually did the musical Rent with the gorgeous Annie Crummer from New Zealand, and did my HSC while I was doing that, and pretty much been working in theatre and commercial dance and in the pop music scene and everything since then.
So when you're not dancing and singing and whatever, how do you relax?
I put my feet up, like everyone does. I put my feet up and put a nice movie on and just kind of sink into the couch. I would suppose that's how I relax, is just to tune out from everything but dance is a way of escapism too. Dance is a way of if you're having a bad day, just get into the studio and have a dance around, and that kind of all just goes away. So.
And because it's such a demanding role, do you have to sort of work out in a gym? How do you stay fit?
The show keeps me fit.
Really?
Doing 8 shows a week for 2.5 hours of the show, I do the majority of the show is dancing and singing for me, and also one of the major numbers in the show, Step in Time, which I get to walk around the ceiling in. I actually do in a 5 kilo harness. So doing that number in a harness would be like running on a treadmill with a harness on for a good 20 minutes. So that in itself, doing that 8 times a week keeps me fit.
And there've been no harness failures in the time you've been doing it?
Never. Fingers crossed. People work very hard to make sure that doesn't happen.
Matt, look forward to seeing Mary Poppins when it arrives in Auckland real soon.
Oh, thanks for having us.